Good afternoon. I just finished up my Nik the Booksmith Deserted Island Challenge little book. And as most of you know, had 4 givens. You were allowed to have scissors, needle and thread, glue, and tea or coffee stained papers. And then you could pick 4 other items to decorate your book. So I picked a piece of paper from here. I can't show you the exact paper because they only have one piece of each sheet, but this is what I had left over. I chose this thread, and I brought it to show you because I used the end of the spool as a tool to make circles, and then my pen, you can probably see a little bit of the blue here, it gave me other size circles. So there's a lot of circles in here because that was what I had. So what I did was I created the text block and Coptic stitched it together and then glued the first and last pages to these chipboard covers that I had covered the outside with tea stain paper that I have then colored up with the Distress Oxide and then added the decoration. So this little thing is just some writing paper. I actually have put too much stuff in here because this is kind of alligator mouthed. Made a tag out of a piece of the paper. I doubled up the corner pocket, didn't make it a flip because it just felt a little flimsy without that. So here's some of my circles. I do not know how to do embroidery stitching, but I do know how to do stitches for Japanese stab bind. So I use the pattern from Japanese stab bind on some of the pages. This is a doubled up tea paper with things on here, and I just put the little marks as if you were counting off the days. This little envelope thing opens up for more writing. And as you can see, it's a pocket behind it. Fussy cut out some of these little design elements that kind of look to me a little bit like seaweed. Because I had the blue oxide, it didn't show the edges very well, so I outlined them with my black pen. All this is my tool stamped lightly, and then the little things outlined I could see putting in, like drawing a little picture or putting in a word or a little saying in each of those blocks. A few of the pages I just liked the tea stain, so I didn't put anything on it. This is another Japanese stab bind. It's a cross stitch basically. But on the back side it only has this, so I had to do something to the edge, and I just drew some wavy lines. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Another one of the doubled up corner pockets, made a little booklet with some of the leftover paper. Again, this is just the tool pounced around to make kind of a area like a mat for a frame that you either can draw or write in. This is a kind of a take on Wendy's journal adventure. She makes these little pockets for tags. Couldn't do it the way she said because I didn't have enough cardstock, but it's kind of reminiscent of that. For a much better one, go see her video. A little writing space on that tag. And then, of course, that's a pocket, so something else could go in there later. This is kind of a take on a trifold flip. One of the things that was hardest for me is that I didn't put a ruler as one of my things, and I found out I was pretty dependent on measuring things. So I had to do a lot of folding, and I'll show you in a minute a jig that I made so that I could do this stitching both for the signatures and then again to get these things sort of lined up. That's another Japanese stab bind pattern. It does make you use all of the bits and pieces. So here I just wrote island, 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 deserted, 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 and then I have a little message in a bottle that I'm sending for somebody to please rescue me. Some more of those little framelits kind of things. Circles with this tool, which is the thread spool. Another tag made out of the tea stain paper. So these are just little tuck spots here. And here's the back and the back pocket. So this was my jig. Also missed my awl. The reason I decided to do the Coptic stitch instead of doing a 3-part book cover with a spine is that I couldn't get the needle through there without injuring myself. And actually, even so, if you look closely here, there's some little dots. That's not a different color ink or anything, that's blood. So the first thing that I did was I made a jig for doing the signatures, and I needed 5 holes, so I folded it in half, and that got my center hole. And then I folded these 2 down at the top to equidistant, so that was 3 holes. And then I needed a 5th hole, so I folded that hole to that hole, and voila, I had a 5 hole. Well, then I divided them in half again to get closer stitches, markings for stitches, to do the Japanese stab bind. And all I did was eyeball it and line it up with the edge as best I could, and then I used my pen and marked the places for the stitches and then stabbed it with the needle. But like I said, I usually sew with a blunt bookbinding needle, so this whole using a pointy needle thing, because you got one needle, was kind of almost undid me. I think this finger is so sore. Anyway, I'll quit complaining. It was fun, it was a challenge, and thank you, Nick, and we'll see you later.